thought I'd kick off the show this time with doing a little top 5. Now, top 5s are very popular. On YouTube, they're used as Amazon marketing schemes. I just watched over here on YouTube, and I don't think I'll be able to bring it back up successfully, but the top 5 leak detectors, refrigerant leak detectors, and it's made by someone who used a program to translate into English, like where it says, "Oh, leak detector, Elitech B400 is the best," that sort of thing. You sound like you're like a cyborg or something. So obviously the leak detectors that they chose were really strange, top 5, although they did have Infocon, they did have Fieldpiece, but there were some of those bargain ones too. And I just have this feeling, guys, I don't want to say it because it almost makes me upset that these guys are lying to us. It could be the case that we're being lied to. It could be the case that the number 1 best leak detector ever made isn't the Fancy Go leak detector that's $36 on Amazon. It's possible we are looking into it. But that's neither here nor there. Top 5. The top 5 for today will be the top 5 things that I hate to see at a job site. And I'm picturing in my head a commercial install job site. Now, I was never really a commercial guy, but we did several commercial jobs with light commercial equipment, 7.5 tons, 10 tons. But these are the top 5 things that basically I didn't want to see when I went to the job site. Okay, number 1. The number 1 thing that I hated to see the most was our friends from the government, OSHA. If OSHA was on the job site, my advice is when you see them, like if you drive it, if you're lucky enough to come in after OSHA. Now, those of us who came in before OSHA, use your hidden underground tunnels to leave the job site. Go up on the roof where you think they won't find you, whatever. But if you're lucky enough to pull in after them, you pull in. I remember pulling into a job site. This actually happened. Pulled into a job site with my brother. We're in the van. We see the OSHA guys, and we just back right back out and leave and drive away. And now I'm not saying that OSHA isn't needed. Well, maybe I am a little bit. Like we should lean on the government less, maybe. I don't know. I just hate to see the government checking up on us because it gives me the heebie-jeebies. And, it's probably best practices to say that they do check up on us. Oh, wait. Don't I have some kind of theme song now? The best practices theme song? Best practices means doing the right thing all the time. Doing the right thing all the time. Doing the right thing all the time. Especially Friday at 4:30. That's good. Yeah, that's quality right there. I made that myself on my guitar, or guitar, if you will. That's me singing, guys. I'm quite the singer. Move over, Lionel Richie, Kenny Rogers. Here comes Zach. So it probably is the wrong thing to say, but that's exactly what I thought. Let's be honest. That's what I thought. If I saw those dudes when I drove up to the job site, I'd like, let's take an early lunch. My brother would be like, it's 8:47 in the morning. That's what time we get to work, by the way, 8:47. Let's just go ahead and take a brunch. Why not, right? We can learn what brunch is. None of our restaurants were open that day. So OSHA is my number 1. That is the one that, let's just get out of here. Let's get out of here. Because thinking back on some of the stuff that we've done, including holding my father's legs while he dangled over the side of a 3-story apartment building so he could drill in a bath fan cap. I'm sure OSHA would not have liked that. Or our drop cords that there were 17 plugged into the T-pole running 400 feet, undersized, to a circular saw, or even better yet, like a table saw inside of a job site. Just every time you hit it, if you had a thermal imager, you see the drop cord start glowing red. That's the kind of stuff that happens all the time. In fact, thinking about drop cords, I don't want to dwell too long on OSHA, but it's funny that when you go to like an residential install job site, I remember some at the beach because there would be a lot of big houses at the beach and you'd have a lot of people working on them at the same time. There were like these 3-story either duplexes or triplexes, which are just 3 different families live there. I guess that's how they could afford it. You have 3 different people living on the front row of the beach where the house costs millions of dollars. We share the cost. And there would be like the framer dudes. La framers would be on like the first floor, and then we'd be on the second floor. There'd be plumbers on the third floor. Everybody would have their drop cords plugged in, and every time the framers would like fire up either like a big saw, one of the larger 15 amp saws, the breaker would trip, and you had to walk back out there again and reset the breaker. And it would happen all day long. Not good. I feel like I'm about to sneeze too. Fight it. Okay. So let's move on to number 2, and I'll forget about that sneeze. Number 2 will be poor parking. Boy, this really irks me. It may not bother you guys at all, but the parking situation on jobs is often horrendous. I remember, and this is not just commercial, this could be residential too, but for commercial, it was the worst. And when I think about bad commercial parking, I think about working downtown. For me, that's downtown Wilmington, but I'm pretty sure this will translate into most moderately sized cities on up. You get there, and you have a commercial building, and then there's another building either connected directly to it. Like there's just a row of buildings that have no alleys in between them. And then there's like 10 guys with 10 different vans there to work. And you got to park every which way. And then every day, as you see parking enforcement walking along, you either have to move your car again. And sometimes, even when you legit park, you can't, and you have to pay for parking. Sometimes you can get a pass. There's ways to get permits where you can park if you're working on something. But you may not have time for that. Or maybe you're working one day or something. And some of the parking spots, you have to move every 2 hours. I got several tickets in my van downtown Wilmington, and I don't remember ever paying them, but nothing ever happened. So I'm pretty sure there's a warrant for my arrest. Maybe? I don't know. There could be a warrant for my arrest. I'm not sure. I probably shouldn't have said that, because some of my haters, hey, you haters out there, there's some fodder for your cannons. No one hates me. That's ridiculous. Why would you hate an air conditioning podcast? That's ridiculous. As he stared at the camera. Okay. I hate the parking situation. Parking's horrible, and you got to park so far away. And then when you do park far away, you end up having to carry like half your van up there. Like if you're brazing, everybody knows how much crap you have to take out when you're brazing. You have to carry like a copper tray, some copper tubing, insul tube, the torches. You always forget like the striker is still in the van or something like that. I don't know. It's just a pain in the butt. So let's go to number 3. Angry, and no one be offended by this, please. Let me just start with that. You know, it's going to end well when I say that. Angry transplant foreman. Angry transplant foreman means that we're in a nice southern town. All right? We're in a nice southern town. Everybody talks with a drawl, except for me, evidently, because all the other southerners say I sound like I'm from the north. Believe it or not. You guys comment. What do you think? Because I have all these guys, you know, I've lived here my whole life. And these guys come in and say, are you from up north? You sound northern. I'm like, what is this? I'm from the south. I'm a redneck, guys. Hey, I'm a redneck. What are you talking about? I'm a redneck. Forget about it. I'm a redneck. Can't you tell? So, angry transplant foreman, though. Angry transplant foreman moved down here from like Brooklyn or something like that. And I'm always saying this, and I'm not trying to make fun of any group of people. It's because, in fact, I like these guys. It's because it happened a lot. I have legit life experience built around this happening. So there would be like all these guys, and a lot of them were like the foreman for, I don't know, whatever reason that is. Some of them weren't. Some of them were like whatever. But they would come from like New York City, New York State, and they would be working down here for a company, and they were like super angry all the time. And I think because like that's what it's like to live up there, because I've heard some northern people and they just talk like that. It's not that they're mean, it's just that there's no frills. Let's call it no frills conversational style. And it's kind of funny because it's like watching a TV show about people flipping houses, and you have the guys that are just so angry at the subs that like aren't there that day, like we're supposed to show up. They're just like cussing and stuff like that. I remember a few of them. They were cussing and like slinging stuff around. I mean, they weren't all like that. We had one guy, I remember Artie. Good old Artie. He had this mustache like this. I called him Super Mario. And he was great. I liked Artie, and he was a craftsman. And I'll tell you this, a lot of those guys, they were craftsmen. They weren't like us Southern guys who don't have any sort of formal training or apprenticeship programs. Like we just like go out and start working and we're qualified. A lot of these guys had to go through certain programs, and they're more well-trained than we are because they have certain structures set up. When they enter an occupation, it's not just like you wake up and you become that thing. You're actually training X amount of years, and then you move up the ladder, which, I have pros and cons with that because some of that stuff is, I won't get into it. I won't get into it or the offending will really start. But there are pros and cons, and one of the pros is the craftsmanship. These guys know what they're doing. So that's always good, except for a few of them. A little bit of a chip up there. Think they know everything. But that's not just a transplant thing. That's an everybody thing. So, in fact, I shouldn't say I didn't even like them. Some of them were entertaining. So that's probably shouldn't be on this list, but I just want to talk about it, really. So let's go to number 4. Number 4 thing that I do not want to see on a job site is anybody in a suit. Anybody in a suit, and that goes for pantsuits for the women, any kind of real estate agent, anybody anybody selling general liability or workman's comp insurance. These guys will come up there. It's like, hey, I'm with, Liberty Mutual. I don't remember. Last commercial I saw, the Limu Emu. They'll come up there and says, what kind of insurance do you have? And I remember just like being so mean to one of these salesman guys because it's just like annoying. They're like coming to where we work. We're having to stop working and go over there and talk to them. And we don't want to talk about any stupid insurance. Like we even have insurance. Wink, wink. No, just kidding. I remember this guy left and the other guy turns to me and goes, you were pretty mean to that guy. I'm like, I wasn't trying to be mean, but they always come to where we're working and they ruin stuff. So I'm angry at them. I was like 19 at the time. Sorry, I was a jerk. I was a jerk to the guy. I probably was. I wish I could see tape of that. Whenever I die and go to heaven, the first thing I'm going to ask is, do you have some VCR tapes of some of the stuff that I did when I was younger so I can watch them? Because I'd really like to see how it actually happened compared to where it's at in my memory here. I'm just curious. But, anybody in a suit on the job site, like real estate agents, because you have to start being quiet so they can talk, so they can show a tour of something. They'll have a bunch of guys, like these people that are going to invest in the property, like it's a spec property maybe, or maybe it's the people who are buying it that just come in and meet with the contractors and go over where they want the faucets or what color the drapes are going to be or blah, blah, whatever. And you got to turn off all your saws. You have to back away, and everybody's got to do their thing, and then you can get back to work. Or do something quiet, in which you guys know nothing is quiet. Even the things that I could do quieter, I didn't. Like putting duct together, putting some self-tappers into a piece of ductwork. Just use your drill. No, I want to use an impact driver. Blah, 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 blah. That's what I want to do. I could go, whoop, but I'm going to go blah, 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 blah instead. And then there's going to be somebody over there, and then you're going to see the suits all looking at each other, and then they're going to look over where I'm at, and then you're going to see one of the suits that's obviously the main one pointing at a different one. And then that different one's going to come over there and go, hey guys, oh, everything's looking really good here, by the way. Can you guys maybe go eat lunch or something? And then we're like, I'm not hungry. I want to get back to work. Like, well, these guys are meeting here. And we're like, yeah, we see them. Blah, 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 blah. I said, will you guys just shut up? Okay. And thanks for getting to the crux of the matter. That's what you tell the suits. And then you leave and go eat lunch or whatever, even if you already ate lunch. Who cares? I ate plenty of long lunches, and when I was younger, I wouldn't mind dodging a little bit of work. Is that wrong? Is it wrong? I skipped a lot of school, too, to go to a pool hall to smoke cigarettes and play pool, obviously, which I was really good at the time, and now I suck at. It degenerates over time. All right, number 5. The 5th and final thing I don't want to see at the job site is, of course, the inspector, another representative from the government there to make sure everything's all right. Remember our rule, guys. Remember the motto we want to guide our lives. Our failures will be our own inspectors. If we do something wrong and we run the wrong wire and it burns down a house, the giant lawsuit will be our lesson learned. We don't need an inspector to come in and say, that's a number 8. You need a number 6 or something like that, or even worse. Hey, that's a number 10, and you need a number 6. That's 10 kW going to a 10-2 wire. I don't think that's going to work. And you'll be like, yeah, it'll be fine. And then you'll say the priceless thing, I've done this for years. And then you're going to guarantee you're an idiot. Because, I've done this for years, going back to I don't need any actual reasons. I'm just going to use that I haven't screwed up bad or haven't been caught yet as my justification. You don't want that. You don't want that, man. You got 10 kW, you need to be running 6 wire. Everyone knows that. Don't be putting aluminum on the condenser. All the time that happens. Aluminum wire contracts and expands. It gets loose. It causes fires. And I myself don't like fires. But inspectors do. They do some good. They really do. I just didn't like seeing them. It's like having a cop riding your butt when you're in traffic. It just makes you uneasy. It makes you feel like, what did I do wrong? You might not have done anything wrong, but I'm just paranoid about what I could have done wrong, or this guy's going to find something and I'm going to have to be angry at him because he found something and I don't think it's right. I've had a lot of good inspectors over the years, a lot of bad ones. I've told some of the stories about arguing with some of them about stuff that just didn't make any sense, stuff that was code, but in the application that we were doing, it made no sense to actually follow through on it, and you could see it made no sense. But it's what are you going to say? Don't do your code stuff. Don't bust us on that. But there's a lot of good ones out there, and if you can befriend an inspector, especially if you're in a place where you're going to see him over and over again, befriend that inspector, because instead of failing you, he might just call you up and say, hey, why don't you run over here and fix this real quick and I'll pass this job. That's a big difference between having to come back on a different day or having to hold up progress. Because if you're one of the trades, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, about to forget our own trade. If you're one of the trades, then it might really push things back as far as people coming in and insulating and drywalling stuff to have you put off an inspection or get another inspection. That could be pretty detrimental, and you don't want that, you don't want that Yankee yelling at you. I'm just kidding. I mean, I love that. My family's Yankee, so anybody that's really legitimately offended by that, my family's from New York. A whole half of them are from New York, and we love them dearly. But it is a vastly different culture, and it's interesting to see the cultures come together because the Southerners will be offended by the Northerners because of the way that they talk, and the Northerners will think the Southerners are slow because of the way they talk. And it's just kind of funny because neither one of those things are true. If you want to watch more videos just like this one, click on this playlist right here. If you want to see our brand new video, click right here. If you want to find out more about the great sponsors that make this show happen, click up here. And to join our email list where I notify you when we're going live, click right here.